fights through the screen. Cunningham gets the ball, gets Bam, pulls up for the win. Got it! Detroit basketball. Look at this. From center ice, it's Patrick Kane in Chicago. Oh my God! With the overtime winner. Time that they didn't. And first and goal, and the inside run for Gibbs, still going to the goal line. Number 4 on the night. A night to remember. Runner goes, pitch is swung on, a high fly ball to right field. This one is gonna fly! A 3-run home run! Kerry Carpenter!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Detroit Sports Sit Down. My name is Todd Murphy Jr. I'm here with Dan Murphy, and another beautiful day at the ballpark, Dan. The Tigers just keep on rolling, and Tarik Skubal looks absolutely dominant. Today, probably his best performance of the season. I mean, it's hard to pick a best of with this guy, man, but what he did tonight was special, especially in front of a packed house on a beautiful night, Sunday night baseball, division rival. They beat the Twins 3-0. And Skubal, like I said, absolutely dominant, man. But let's jump right into that, Dan, and get going because it's so much fun to talk about right now with just how good this team is all around. But man, when you got a guy like Skubal up there, just 13 strikeouts. I think at one point he had like what 7 of 8, something like that, strikeouts in this game.
Yeah, had 8 strikeouts in the first 3 innings. I thought he might be on pace to get a 20 strikeout game, which is even more rare than a no-hitter or a perfect game. So it was incredibly special this first couple innings.
Yeah, that was. I was looking. I think it was Anibal Sanchez. It was a few years back. Had 17 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, it was looking interesting. He's like, is anybody going to get a hit off this guy? Is he just going to strike everybody out? Obviously that didn't happen, but 13 strikeouts is was a great thing to see. And then, of course, the bullpen, they hang tough. You get home runs from Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green, who also just looks amazing right now. He's just
Yeah.
playing great baseball. But yeah, so your main thought has to be Skubal. What did you see out of him today that was like more electric than usual?
I mean, just everything was working for him, man. He has a knack for the spotlight too, I think, man. Like, I think he knows. He amps it up a little bit more, for even obviously, playoff games and in the big games in terms of the standings and pennant chases and things like that, he's gonna ramp it up. But for like a night like tonight, it's Sunday night baseball, it's national television, they're the standalone game, it's a standing room only crowd. Like you could tell he was amped up from the start. You could kind of see when they showed him walking out and he's basically getting a standing ovation when he was walking out from the bullpen from the warm up. Like you could just there was just a certain feeling in the air, like there was just an aura about Scuba walking on the mound. Like it was gonna be a special night tonight, and it was.
Yeah. So who hi, he has to remind you of Verlander in those days with the the must see JV, and when you knew those nights, when JV was on the mound, you wanted to be there, or you at least wanted to watch it on TV because you never knew what you were going to see, as far as like the dominant pitching performance. And I'm guessing that he's starting to remind you of that. Scooball is.
Yeah, I mean Verlander is my favorite Tiger of all time. I watching him every night that he performed, like you just especially that run, like 2011, 2012, he was just unbelievable. 2011 when he won the MVP and the Cy Young, the Triple Crown that year. It was every night was, is he going to get a no-hitter? Is he going to get a perfect game? Like, could he get a 20 strikeout game? Like every night it was like they said, must see JV. And I thought I would never see a Tiger pitcher put on the uniform like that and be as phenomenal as Verlander was in that run in prime Verlander era. And it's taken me a while to admit it because Verlander's my favorite, but man, I think Skubal might be surpassing that because it's unbelievable what he's doing. He's clear cut the best pitcher in baseball, and it doesn't even seem like it's close right now. Like he is so dominant, like incredible how good he is right now. This run is it's a generational run that he's on right now, and it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah. So it's so hard for a pitcher to be MVP like JV was, because obviously you're only going out every 5 days. Is Skubal at that level? Is he at MVP level right now?
I think he'd have to be in the conversation. I mean, it's tough, because it is tough for a pitcher to get it because, like you said, they only pitch every 5 days and a hitter plays every day. But he has to be in the conversation. I mean, if he continues this run throughout the rest of the season, he's definitely going to get votes. For sure.
Yeah.
Will he get enough to push him over the top to win it? I don't know, but
It's gonna be tough, especially with like what Aaron Judge is doing, man. This
yeah,
guy just hits like he just hit another two homers today, man. This guy just is a home run threat every time he walks up to the plate. And there's some
it's
other
really
guys
tough for
too, but
anybody in the American League to win it over Judge and anybody in the National League to win it over Otani. I mean, those
yeah.
guys are you know, just unbelievable. But I mean, Skubal is definitely, you even take out the MVP, you just talk about the Cy Young, almost seems like a slam dunk right
Yeah.
now. You're not going to wood, but as long as he doesn't get hurt, I mean, it seems like a slam dunk that he's going to win another Cy Young for back-to-back years.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to watch. So, I mean, it's hard to I don't know if we even got to bring this up because it's becoming like the more we see Scooble, the kind it's kind of getting scary now with the contract situation. And I think every time he comes out and has a performance like this, Tiger fans are just going to get a little more nervous about the whole situation, But
Yeah, but I mean, at this point in time, like I don't even care. Like, not like, put that to the side. That's a year and a half down the road. They're a favorite to win the World Series for the
yeah,
next 2 seasons. Like they got Scooble for this year and next year, guaranteed. Like that's set in stone. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm focused. Let's try to win the World Series the next two
yeah,
years. They got the best pitcher in baseball. They have the best record. Like we'll deal with that down the road. Like when that time comes, the MLB might be locked out anyways. So there's a whole bunch of stuff coming down the line in a year and a half.
yeah.
So the Tigers organization, they need to focus on these next two seasons, these next two playoff runs, and try to win it all.
I think you're exactly right, man. 'Cause I mean, and look at like it's not that long ago where these Tigers were like you almost forget about it now, but man, like when last season started, the Tigers were like barely in the conversation just to win a division, in a weak Central. And obviously the run came last year and things really turned around. And now this year it's like you almost forgot that they weren't good like up until just
This
recently.
time last year, okay, just to show you how a complete 180 everything has turned. This time last year, even the most diehards of fans, the diehards of Scooble fans, including myself, were seriously considering thinking that it was the right move to trade Scooble
Yeah.
and trade him most likely to Baltimore for some of their hitting prospects. And you look at where Baltimore is at now. They are a disaster. They're last or near last in the division, one of the worst teams in the American League, and the Tigers have the best record in baseball, or at least the best record in the American League. They're battling it out with the Dodgers every day for the best record in baseball, but they're right up there. And what a complete turnaround! And just think if they would have traded Skubal, because they sold Flaherty. All right, so what if the Baltimore came with a crazy good package of prospects, and they had traded Skubal? Like it would have been over. Like we would have been in, like we would have been in this rebuild for another God knows how long. But they didn't. Thank God they didn't. And they went on that crazy run last season, and it's continued into this year. And it's been an unbelievable year going back to last August.
Yeah, and it just keeps coming, man. Like these guys, I like you said, Riley Green he looks like a bona fide all-star. I mean, you got like Javi Baez is probably going to be an all-star as well. Another, I think he got a double today, and man, he keeps showing up too. And I mean, you go up and down this lineup, it's every day another guy's stepping up, but you're seeing your core guys, man. And this catcher, this Dylan Digler, man, he's really taken over that position. He might be an
Yeah.
all-star too.
Yeah. He's putting
So
all-star numbers up there because
yeah,
he might be the best defensive catcher in baseball with everything that he does. And he's a great hitter to top it off with power. He's hitting for average, he's hitting for power, he's incredibly defensively. He might, of all the surprises and guys playing out of their mind that you didn't expect, he might be at the top of the list. Because I mean, he was a prospect, and you were expecting him to do some good things, but to play at an all-star level on both sides of the ball, I
yeah.
don't think anybody expected that.
Like this early, he didn't play much or at all last year. Did
He
did he
came up a
come?
little bit last year towards the end, but
Yeah.
yeah, he didn't play a ton. Yeah, I mean it's out of nowhere because I mean really he wasn't the starter to start the year. Jake Rogers was the starter, and then Rogers got hurt, and he was out for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then Dingler just absolutely took over. He took advantage of the opportunity, and he's not giving it back. He might be the catcher for the next 10 years for the Tigers.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks the part, that's for sure. Um, so there's still questions at third. Um, they've been kind of platooning McKinstry and Colt Keith there for a little bit. Are you still finding that? Do you think that's like a major weakness, or
I don't think it's a weakness, but I do think it's a spot they could improve and solidify it a little bit more. Because then you can move McKinstry and have him play a little bit more short. You can platoon at short with McKinstry and Baez. But I was just thinking today, I'm just watching and I'm like looking at the lineup. I'm like, man, this lineup looks so good. And I'm thinking Perez and Verlander aren't even in the lineup. So like you got them on the bench. So this is something we got to get into a little bit. Carpenter gets hurt, right, with his hamstring. He legged out at triple, and he got pulled with his hamstring. And then Perez, came in. I'm thinking, wow, Carpenter comes out and you sub him in with Wenzel Perez, who has been fantastic. But Carpenter getting hurt really is a big deal. That hamstring has been an issue all season, and really going back to probably about a month ago, where it's been really bothering him. And then it really flared up today. So I'm sure we'll find out probably within the next day or two what the deal is, if he's going to go on the IL or not. But in my opinion, they should just put him on the IL. Just like give him, the next 2 or 3 weeks at least. Let those hamstrings heal. Like they don't need him right now. They have 11 and a half game lead in the division.
yeah?
Like why take any chances? Just sit him. Like put him on the IL, let him heal up, and then bring him back when, during the stretch run. Because
Yeah,
they got
especially for a
guys to
guy who,
replace. They got guys who are going to sub in. Wenzel Perez
yeah.
is perfectly fine. Verling is back up. Like you don't need Carpenter right now. Yeah, he's great. He's fantastic. Hit a home run today. Hit another triple. Like he's a great hitter to have in the middle of that lineup. But man, you don't need it right now. You're fortunate to have this amazing lead, and the rest of the division has really dropped off. Like, don't take any chances. Let him sit.
What do you think it is with Carpenter? Like not with the injuries, but with him, because he really only he basically only hits certain pitchers, like they're just right-handed pitchers, right? He can't really hit lefties. Like, what do you think it is for a guy like that, where he's so good against certain pitchers and just can't figure it out against other pitchers? Like, it's something you don't. I mean, you see it like matchups are matchups, but with Carpenter, it kind of seems to be to the extreme.
Yeah, I mean, some guys are just like that. They can only hit the opposite hand, and Carpenter's an extreme example about that. And a lot of people think they should just let Carpenter start and see how it goes because he has, at least earlier in the season when they were short on outfielders, they needed him to hit, consistently, and they didn't take him out quite as much. They let him hit against left-handers a little bit more, and he wasn't terrible, but he is a pretty extreme split throughout his career. Is pretty extreme split between left-handed and right-handed pitching. But man, when you look at his stats against right-handed pitchers, he's like one of the top five hitters in baseball, like over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So he is, I mean, and in the majority of the pitchers you see are right-handed. So he plays the majority of the time. But it is when you do get, and it is a problem with the Tigers. Like when they face a good left-handed starter, they tend to struggle, which goes back to what they need. A right-handed power hitting third baseman would be ideal to add to this team, or really just a good, middle lineup right-handed hitter in general, but ideally at third base.
And it's had, that it's down. Oh, you look over in Boston in that AL East, and they're falling down, man, because the top of that division is very competitive with New York, and Toronto, and
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, who looks really good too. Boston's falling off, so I know I'd say it's almost to like an exhausted point, like, but to talk about Bregman and how perfect that situation would be, it just that one's getting a little more interesting every day as the trade deadline approaches. What is Boston gonna do? Obviously they already traded their guy Devers. Are they gonna hold strong, or are they gonna sell because it's looking rough for them over there in the AL East.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like at that point where the Tigers have such a big lead. Now it's almost like you're rooting for the teams that are kind of like on the bubble to lose so that they become sellers.
Yeah,
Because the less sellers there are, then the less players that are available and the higher the price is going to be.
yeah,
So yeah, you know what I mean? So it is kind of a weird situation where you're kind of rooting for these teams. Like Boston's a prime example. Like, hey, you're looking at the standings like, I hope they keep losing, keep losing, keep losing,
yeah,
because I want these guys to become available. And even if it's not Bregman, I think Chapman out of the bullpen is a perfect guy for the Tigers, and a guy I definitely think they will try to go for.
yeah.
But so will other team, other teams are going to go for him too. But I think
Chapman
that will
has
be a
been
prime
one.
target for the Tigers.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely been talked about. There's something like the back of our bullpen is so strong. I really like Vesey. He came in and did it again today. But I mean, you add a guy like Chapman, that's just you know another just power arm in those late innings. I think that'd be a perfect piece to this puzzle.
Yeah, because they have two relievers that they really trust right now, and that's Canely and Vest. And you saw that today. Skubal was at I think 93 pitches, and they brought him out. Like maybe if it's the playoffs, maybe they let him go another inning, but they trust Canely and Vest. But I think
Yeah.
outside of that, it gets a little bit more dicey, and guys just haven't been what they were. You look at Bo Brisky, he was such a huge part of this team last season. He's in AAA. Gunther's in AAA. Foley, it was injured. He's out for the year. A lot of those guys that you look back at the bullpen last year, Tyler Holton is another one who's really struggled. Brant Herter, who was really good at the start of the year, he's really struggled the last 3, 4 weeks. So all these guys that were just huge parts of that pitching chaos last year, they would come in, openers or bulk starters, like just dominant, incredible how good they were last year. Those guys are just not performed at that level this season. Outside of Canely and Vest, it's been a struggle, especially of late. So they're definitely going to need at least one, I would say two bullpen arms come the trade deadline, and Chapman would be one of the guys at the top of the list, I think.
If they do, let's say just for fun, if they do land Chapman, how do you think that shakes up the back end of the pitching staff? Does he automatically become the ninth inning guy, or would it be like a platoon situation?
Well, Hinch has never really been a guy that names the closers. He
Yeah,
likes to play the matchups, and he does. It's I would think Chapman would just, instead of there being two guys that kind of platoon eighth and ninth, it would be three guys now. But it extends that trust factor. Now you got three guys that you really feel comfortable with and you really trust. So now you got 3 innings worth of bullpen that you trust.
yeah,
It doesn't really matter who pitches the seventh, eighth, or ninth, but now it gives you 3 innings where you don't have maybe necessarily have to stretch a starter, into the seventh inning. He only maybe has to go six now. So that that's huge, obviously. Especially if outside of Skubal, once, you get deeper into the rotation, like to have the bullpen be able to come in and dominate for 3 innings, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting times, man, to be able to sit here 11 and a half games up and just think about, man, okay, how can we make this team better? You know, that's a fun thing to do, especially and you're just seeing this excitement, and you saw it tonight. You go down to the ballpark and it's just electric every day again. Like people really, really care. And then guess what? We're a baseball town. I think it's very clear. Um, I wouldn't necessarily say like Detroit's fair weather fans, it's just but it's tough to watch bad baseball, it's tough to
I
watch.
have always said when the games matter, we're there. Like we there's just too much to do. Like there's too much going on. It's to spend your time 3 hours a day, every day on a team that's playing games that don't really matter.
Yeah,
But if the games matter, they're in a pennant chase, they're in first place or they're going for first place. Like we're gonna be there. We're gonna go, we're gonna watch. And you can see it in the TV ratings, you can see it in the ticket sales. Like you put out a good product, playing competitive games and games that matter, we will show up. And that's always how it's been, and that's how it should be. If you're not putting out a good product and you're not playing games that matter, then why should we care? Why should we show up? We're still going to pay attention. We're still going to know who the players are. We're going to check the box scores. But we might not spend 3 hours every night. There's other things to do. Life's too short to waste your time on a bad product. It just
yeah,
is, you know. But you put out a good product, we're gonna go. And that's always been the complaint with Chris Ilitch. It's like, hey, spend the money. Like, yeah, I know you're in a rebuild, but you can still go and spend money and go get some good free agents to still put out a decent product that can maybe compete, especially with the playoffs being expanded. You can stay in it longer. You can stay in the conversation. And again, if you're in the conversation, we're gonna go, we're gonna watch. And it's just taken a lot longer than it probably should have. But we're here now with all our teams. Every single one of them are playing at least competitive to the very end of the regular season, if not making the playoffs. And we had to deal with hell for 5 to 6 years. I mean, absolute hell in this town of how bad the teams were, all of them. And now we're reaping the
it was
benefits of that
so
that pain. And we're finally through all these rebuilds, and all the teams are ready to be good and compete.
yeah, it's awesome, man, because it was I mean, you had teams that were like historically bad, with the
Yeah.
Pistons and the Wings. Just they're super frustrating. I mean, they're like on the brink of at least making the playoffs, but I mean, they've been pretty frustrating for a while now, 9 years. And then obviously with what the Lions are doing is it's so exciting. And for them, they were so bad for so long, and now they've really taken on. So it's a fun time for Detroit sports. Detroit sports is back, and one of the we're one of the few cities that have like all four major sports that are prominent, like the Wings, Pistons, and Tigers all have history, like championships and great runs and incredible players. The Lions, not so much, obviously. Some great players, some there was always excitement around them because they're the Lions, and people love football, here especially. But to have it going now like this, and to have Detroit like basically on top of the sports world again, where we should be. Back in the day, we used to get voted best sports town in America almost every year, and
Because not only that, Tom, you talk about the pro teams. We have 4 pro teams. But you also have 2 major colleges in Michigan and Michigan State that perennially have, Michigan State is kind of up and down with football, but more often than not, they're a top 25 football program, and they're always a top 25 basketball program. And Michigan has been a top 25, usually top 10 football program for most of our lives, as well as a top 25 basketball team. So I mean, we have an abundance of sports to watch, and it's why it's so much fun to be a part of this, and it's why we do this podcast, and it's why we started the website, because there's so much that is there to cover and to watch and to enjoy. It's awesome to be a Detroit sports fan.
Yeah, it sure is. Especially with these Tigers right now. I mean, like you could see it at the beginning of the season when that it was going to be a fun summer, and here we are, right in the thick of it. Was it June 29th today? So we're getting down to that heat, of the summer, that July, August stretch where if like you said, if your team isn't any good or they look like they're falling off, those days and those weeks can get real long. But right now for the Tigers, man, it's moving fast. It's like you want to watch them every day and see who you're checking to see who the lineup and looking at the matchups and stuff, and you're watching out of town scores to see if who did what. Like Cleveland just lost again today, and it's like you're paying attention to that stuff, and when your team's not in there, you're really not. So it's fun to do, and there's going to be a lot to look forward to in these next couple weeks to see if we can sustain, this dominant lead and to see what we do at the deadline. Um, there's going to be some moves made. Well, I mean, you would
Yeah,
think,
they
you would
definitely will
think,
be. They have all the pieces. They have the number one farm system. They're the number one team in the American League. I mean, I think we would all be incredibly upset if they didn't make some type of major move, if not, a couple major moves.
yeah. What do you think? With Matt Vierling coming back, what are you looking for him? Do you think he can plug in and play at third, and be productive?
I think they're going to use him more in the outfield, to be honest with you, because I don't know how comfortable he is with that shoulder right now, and trying to make consistent throws from that third base throw to first consistently. I don't know. It seems like at least yesterday he played outfield. I would think that's probably where he's going to play the majority of the time, especially with Baez's ability to play third. They can, and McKinstry, like they can rotate between short and third, and they've been playing Keith a little bit at third as well. So we'll see. I was kind of surprised he wasn't in the lineup today,
Yeah, I
because
was a little.
I thought he would have been playing pretty consistently at this point. He just played yesterday and then he's off again today. So
Dude,
I
was
don't
there
know.
any
Maybe they're
word
just
why?
playing, taking it easy right now. They, not trying to rush him, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I would say if I had to say, I would think he's going to play more in the outfield, but we'll
yeah.
see.
Did you hear Hinch say anything about why he didn't play, or it was just maybe just a rest
I
day?
think it
It's not
was.
too much too
I didn't
fast.
hear anything specifically. I just but I was just kind of surprised he wasn't in the lineup today. But maybe it was just a matchup thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but he is because he can be a piece to the puzzle. Productive player.
Well, he
Um,
is. We talked about how the Tigers struggle against left-handed starters. Him being a right-handed hitter. Somebody that's good against left-handed pitching. Like he could be a huge part of that.
yeah. All right, man. I love talking Tigers, but we can switch gears here a little bit. We'll go to some pretty unfortunate bad news, man. I can't believe this has actually happened into this day and age. But Malik Beasley under federal under federal investigation for there's not a lot of details out there about it yet, but basically it's like um kind of like strange activity on his prop bets on certain prop bets as um the most information that we have right now. But man, there it's unfortunate that this is happening, and if it's right now, it's an investigation. He hasn't been arrested or charged with anything yet, so you got to let the due process play out. But he was set to sign a 3-year, $40 million contract to re-sign with the Pistons, and he's a good player. He's a great three-point shooter. He kind of fell off in the playoffs a bit, which got frustrating. I certainly hope that didn't have anything to do with this gambling, man. Could you imagine a player possibly or like purposely tanking himself just for money when he's set to be a free agent and get millions and millions of dollars and
Yeah,
millions and
I
millions of
wouldn't
dollars?
think because from what I heard, this was from before he joined the Pistons.
Oh, really?
That's what I thought I heard. Yeah, that this was previous to him joining the Pistons. I could be wrong. Maybe more details have come out since the last time I checked, but last I heard, it was before he would join the Pistons. Um, I don't know, man. This is so stupid. How do you bet on games that you're a millionaire? You're already a millionaire. Why do you
So
need to go out and gamble or potentially be throwing games?
that's what
Like,
it is. Maybe
is
he
this?
wasn't
I
doing the
mean,
one
is this?
gambling, but he's giving, he's setting it up like, okay, I'll make sure to stay under eight threes tonight or something like that. And then, like, and in basketball, man, basketball and gambling scandals go back to the when they first started shooting a basketball, basically, like, because that's one sport where one player or one ref, one person on that court can deeply affect a game. And then now when you can bet on almost anything in a basketball game, from who's going to score the first basket to what point, like, I mean, the bets are there's a million of them every game. So, and with this gambling, how easy it is now, and it's right on your phone, and and gambling and sports have now, like, it used to be like the touchy subject, like, and now you got gambling sites sponsoring teams, they're like, I think, and this is football, but like, doesn't Jerry Jones like own DraftKings, or he's part of it or something? Like, like some of this stuff, it's almost unbelievable how together sports and gambling is now, when it used to be, separate. They didn't embrace it so much, and now you got every other commercial on a sporting event is a gambling website, you know. Uh, so you do wonder, like, how effective these players get. And they're all rich, but some things become an addiction, man, and you never know what's going on behind closed doors, man, with different people and their who they run in their circles with, like, a lot of these guys are super high profile off the court, and you know, the people in their circles might be messing with some real heavy hitters, it's like some gamblers or gangsters and stuff like that. And a lot of that stuff with when you get into that life, a lot of that stuff goes hand in hand too, where he could, who knows, maybe he's just around some shady individuals and he was just giving information or something. Or it's going to be interesting to see the details and how Malik Beasley actually is involved in this, at least just to call it now, this investigation. Because it was national news when it first broke with very little information. So people are going to start
Well,
talking
it's a
about it.
federal investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus,
Yeah.
like, what kind of bothers me is like it's just the Pistons are all over the screen.
Yeah.
He's a free agent. He's not with the Pistons. Like he potentially could have been. Like I know he played with them last year, and I
Yeah. Well, it
know
looked like the deal was set,
yeah.
but now
It's
it's on
just
hold.
like,
But yeah, you're
yeah, it
right.
just makes it look like the Pistons are involved. And the way they even the Carl Ravitch on baseball on the Sunday Night Baseball, he was talking about it towards the end of the game, how they were gonna, it was gonna be one of the major stories on Sports Center. It's like, oh, the Pistons involved in a major scandal. I'm like, "No, the Pistons aren't. It has nothing to do with the Pistons aside from like, hey, they might not re-sign this guy now. But
Yeah.
the Pistons didn't have anything to do with it. It's just this player is involved with this. So I don't know. It just kind of bothered me a little bit, but I would think the deal is off now. I can't imagine they would. I mean, he's gonna face God knows how much of a suspension this would be. I mean, again, we don't know all the details yet, and it's gonna come out over the next few days, I would think. But I would imagine if this seems like a lot of smoke. There's probably a pretty decent fire to attach to this. I would think he's probably going to face a pretty big suspension. You're not going to sign a guy to a major 3-year deal if he's going to have to face a major suspension.
This isn't Jameson Williams gambling on his phone at the practice facility, gambling
No,
on
if he would
March
have taken three
Madness.
steps
This,
forward, he would have been fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not one of those deals. No.
No, this is a guy potentially, you know, I don't want to say throwing games, but but potentially manipulating certain things in a gambling aspect on purpose, which that this is the last thing the NBA wants. So if it
He
is
could face
true,
a year. I would say, I mean, you could be talking about a full year suspension
or you maybe even more than
or
that,
maybe more. Yeah,
depending
depending on
on,
how far
yeah,
this goes.
if they can prove that he was potentially, what I'm saying, purposely being doing shady things on the court, manipulating the
Well,
game,
if the props
gambling
were on
aspect, it's a wrap.
himself, if the props were on himself, then that would be pretty obvious,
Yeah.
right? Like, I would
Well, it's
find it
not,
hard not to.
and this is it. It's not necessarily saying because I haven't heard that it was him betting on himself, but the basically like shady activity going around the prop bets, and so possibly like there was some unusual bets is what they were saying, some unusual prop bet activity, I think is the term. So it doesn't necessarily mean he was betting on himself, but he definitely could have been manipulating the game and sharing the information with other people to control the bets, which is
Or maybe he knew that the strategy of the game wasn't going to, for whatever reason, maybe not involve him or another player on the team getting as many shots as maybe they normally would, or maybe not getting as much playing time as they normally would, so they wouldn't score as many points. Sharing that type of information that I would imagine that's probably what they're looking at.
yeah. But who knows? Again, you can speculate all you want, but you're not gonna know the truth. But it was just a bummer to see because he's becoming a fan favorite. I was really excited to have him potentially sign a 3-year deal with the Pistons because he's a good player, great shooter. I think he led the league in 3-point percentage last year, or was right up there at least. And so I don't know. We'll just have to see. So now the Pistons that makes their off season, and because this what a terrible time for this to happen too. Like right before you're going to sign him.
Well, I mean,
No.
and honestly, it's probably the perfect time if you're the Pistons because you were about to sign him. If you
Oh
had,
well.
like if this comes out 2 or 3 days later, they would have been screwed because they would
Yeah.
have already signed him.
And then all the other flurry of activity, because NBA free agency goes pretty fast, man. And it starts tomorrow,
So
and
now
once
they
it
can
starts, it goes
adjust. I mean,
quick.
they're gonna have to adjust quickly,
Yeah.
um, but at least better now than 3 or 4 days from now.
Yeah, yeah, you're right about that. But yeah, just it throws a wrench into these plans. So now you're gonna be now you got to look elsewhere. You got to probably figure you're not gonna sign him. Like you probably have to like think you're moving on from him at this point because
Yeah, it might be a situation where I can't imagine any team's gonna sign him until this is resolved.
yeah,
So he might still be out there at the back end. And maybe things turn out, and hopefully they turn out that none of this is true. It's hard to believe at this point when you got a federal investigation going on. It's probably something, but
yeah,
let's just say hypothetically he ends up not involved in any of this. Like he doesn't face a suspension, he's absolved of everything, and that probably was not going to happen until long after this is all, the off-season period is kind of over with, and then he could still be out there. And then maybe the Pistons have enough money to get him. That would be the ideal situation.
yeah,
Like, and then you're probably getting them for less, and because most teams are going to have their off seasons complete and done, and they might have already spent their cap money or a lot of their roster spaces, already. So who knows? I'm thinking in my mind, I'm thinking like what happened with the Tigers and Flaherty, where like you weren't even thinking that he was going to resign here, and then all of a sudden you get to the end of free agency and he's still out there and he's a Tiger again. You know,
yeah.
so maybe the Pistons could go lucky in a situation like that, but man, it just doesn't look good for Malik Beasley right now.
It sure doesn't, man. Because like you said, man, for it to just to come out, like once the rumor's already out there, and like if unless they do come out and say you're completely absolved, but it wouldn't be a national news story, or there wouldn't be an investigation if something wasn't going on, you know. So they like again. Innocent until proven guilty. He's not charged with anything yet. But just the fact that you wake up today and the news headline is FBI investigation, Malik Beasley, like, and then gambling, prop bets. That's a bad look, man, all the way around. So yeah, we'll see what the future holds with that, man. That's definitely one that we're gonna be keeping an eye on because Beasley, he's a piece to the puzzle, man. And he was going to sign, so we're going to
Yeah,
see.
it seemed of all the Pistons free agents, he seemed the most likely to come back.
You know,
And like I said, they had the deal almost. I mean, it seems like they were just crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and bam,
yeah,
out of nowhere, absolute bombshell, man.
yeah, that's too bad. But all right, man, we can wrap up that Pistons talk. We'll keep an eye on that one, you know, for a while. But Dan, it's good. It's good talking, man. This is it was a good night, man. It was a good night for Tiger baseball, man, on the national scene. It's been quite. I don't remember the last time they were on Sunday Night Baseball.
I said it was
It's been a while.
2017.
Was it? Was it that long?
Yes, yes,
Jeez,
2017.
man.
A long time.
Wow. Yeah. Well, usually it's just Boston versus New York, anyways,
That
and
is
that's
true.
like the
Yeah,
game
and
of
are
the Sunday
the
night.
Dodgers, the Mets, the Red Sox, the
Yeah.
Yankees. That's it. That's they just any combination of those four. Those are the only teams that play baseball, according to ESPN. So,
Yeah.
and the Lakers and
Seems like it
Celtics are the only teams that
sometimes,
play
man.
basketball.
No.
How it goes.
But all right, man.
And nobody watches ESPN anymore anyway, so who cares?
Oh man. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen. For Dan Murphy, my name is Tom Murphy Jr., and this has been another episode of the Detroit Sports Sit Down.